All right. Microphone's off to the side, so hopefully it sounds okay. Reviewing Heretic. I just saw this again. Saw it in the theater originally, and then I rewatched it again. Originally, I gave it a 3. It's about a 3, in my opinion. Or I'm sorry, a 3 out of 5 or a 6 out of 10. I would argue 6.5. Like it's between a 6 and a 7 for me. Here, I'll be nice. I'll give it a 3.5. There, it's a little better than the average rating. Um, Probably not much more than that. What's up with this movie? Okay, so we have this guy. He's really smart. Okay, all right. Spoilers. Let's look at some of these. All right, Jigsaw, if he was an insufferable Reddit atheist. See, that's pretty funny because that's kind of what I thought too. Um, yeah, I get it. Like the brilliant, like the whatever Hannibal Lecter type, right. And then before a nerd says like he's not really Hannibal Lecter, he's more of a no. Like he's like obviously like educated. He's like a very intelligent like psychopath of some sort. Um, I don't know, man. Till Heretic, it's the two Mormon girls. They get trapped in his house. They're being overly polite. He's shady. Like he's like really like suspicious and shady pretty much right away. Um, Things I liked, things I didn't like. Let's see here. Well, let's look at other people's reviews real quick. I think it's a fun thing to do. Let's see here. Where's the review here? This disgustingly educated. That's kind of part. Like I liked it. I liked him as a character, but this is part of why almost like the annoying part of it. And I get it. Like yes, these people, these educated people, they can become obsessive with things and anything to justify them being, a serial killer or a psychopath or whatever. But Hugh Grant was amazing. Yeah, he was pretty much the best part of the movie. I liked the girls too. I just liked the characters in general. I think they did a good job. So I did like the actresses. I liked the actor playing the weird psycho guy basically. Um, let's see. Everything came full circle. I think it did, but more superficially than you think it did. That's kind of one of my complaints about it. Um, Mansplaining atheism and dithery Englishmen. Is that how you pronounce that? What is this? The smoking area of Clute. A must watch, like the betrayal of religions, especially for Christians and atheists. The ending is kind of open ended. Let's see here. Came for Sophie Thatcher, stayed for Sophie Thatcher, continues to live for Sophie Thatcher. Love her. Sister Barnes ended him. I did say spoilers, right? Radiohead mentioned great movie, but didn't fancy the ending. But at least it evoked my Christmas spirits. Let's see here. Enjoying this a bit more on rewatch. Much more satisfying. I think it was about the same. I probably liked it more the first time I watched it because when you know what happens already, it's kind of like it is sort of one of those movies. Like I think the acting's good and like the tension building is still good upon rewatch, but it's definitely one of those movies where it's like, well, I know what happens. Like I don't know. I don't think it gets better on rewatch. Yeah. The real question is, why do you let me? Right, because the moment the door was opening, I would have stabbed him right then and there. Yes, this is always a problem with horror movies. The whole suspension of disbelief thing, I try to get over it. It is annoying though, the whole like, yes, I would have just stomped him. Like, I would have stomped him in this scene. Um, Starts off strong, but the final act doesn't fully pay off the premise. Hugh Grant is as solid as usual. I would actually agree with this overall. I think that's a decent take. I think I'll try to get into that a little bit. So let me try to remember, because I did watch this. I watched this maybe 3 days ago, so I have a horrible memory, I think. I actually have a pretty good memory. But I'm trying to think of the relevant things. So, Heretic, he's a smart guy. He asked them to come over. They were being like, I don't know, what are they, Mormons or something? Some religion, whatever. I don't really care about religion, to be honest at all. So, it seems like up my alley, the whole like debunking religion thing, because like they come over and he kind of like starts. it's like a slow roll where he challenges them more, and like he's actually very well read and educated on the subject of different religions, and then he starts to kind of explain like, yes, and when I was a student, so like in blah blah blah, like I went down the rabbit hole and like did all this research and da 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 like about religion, and you think like, and he gets creepier and creepier, and he keeps saying like they can't like really come in unless there's a woman, like he said he like has a wife and she's in the back and making a pie, and then more and more you're realizing like this guy doesn't have a wife, and like they get more and more suspicious of his like weird behavior and stuff, and but then they seem to, it's like the polite society thing, or they don't want to like get him mad or whatever, so they kind of just keep going deeper and deeper into his house, and then they go into this room that's like it's made to look like a church kind of, and he's like at the altar, and he's talking about board game iterations like Monopoly, and how Monopoly was a ripoff of this other game, the like capitalist landlord game or whatever, almost like a Marxist kind of thing, which is kind of cool actually, right? So they say like, I don't know how true any of these details. I'm assuming this is true, right? Like the things he's saying about like the Monopoly board game and stuff, and it's kind of interesting. So yeah, and then he goes into like religion, how religions like iterations off of other religions, like earlier religions, and they have very like similar like themes and characters and what have you, and like you think if it's like a later religion, blah blah blah, it has like the same. Sorry, I shouldn't have said blah. If it's a later religion that has similar themes and characters, you got to think like, well, this is kind of a copy of this religion. So like, what is the quote true religion? So he keeps challenging the girls, and they're becoming increasingly like more nervous. The fact that they at the time they were in the church room, they already tried leaving. The door was locked, and then he's like explaining how the doors just lock, and they're like, they're welcome to leave though, but through the back, and like this door. And then eventually he opens it, and it's like a dungeon, basically. He's like, well, if you would notice my house... And he keeps doing this, right? Like, he keeps, like, basically gaslighting them, essentially. Where he's like, well, if you notice, my house is on a hill, so you have to go down to go out. And, like, he keeps, like, getting them further along through, like, kind of, like, lying like that. The thing that was, like... I mean, overall, I thought the character was good. I liked he had good screen presence. It's kind of like... You gotta think crazies are just gonna crazy, right? But, like, at the same time, it's like... If all this stuff is stupid, which, like, I'm personally not a religious person, so, like, I'm watching this is in no way offensive to me. In a way, like, I agree with this guy when he's explaining religion. I'm like, yes, it's like the whole, like, Reddit atheist thing. It's like, I'm like, yeah, get him, like, to an extent, right? Like, I don't want the bad guy to win, but it's like, yeah, get him with your, like, logic with the religious stuff and the Monopoly board game. Hell yeah, like, but, there's a point where it's like, if you think this stuff is stupid and pointless, like, why are you devoting so much time to it? Like, it's just, there's a point where it becomes like a religion in itself, where he has these rooms the girl goes through later on, and it's like, go through the doors and you'll find the true religion. And it's like, he's building like a fake church thing and like all this, and becomes like so obsessive with it. And I guess, yeah, people get obsessive with things, but it's like, I don't get why you would devote so much time to something where if you're such an intellectual, like, why you wouldn't just write it off as like, yeah, this is like, it's like kind of just horseshit. Like, it's not really worth like validating to the extent that I'm even validating it. You know what I mean? I guess he needs like these perfect logical like arguments and conclusions to like basically an illogical subject, which is kind of, I don't know, how to make myself sound smarter with that point, but like it's somewhere in philosophy or like throughout history, there's got to be a quote somewhere, right? Maybe you can find it for me. It's like you can't debate something illogical with logic, right? Like, so like that's what he seems to be doing, but he seems smart enough to know that in the first place, unless he's just like deranged. So, which like he is kind of a deranged character. So I just thought that was kind of weird how much time he's devoting to like the subject of religion if he thinks it's stupid and pointless, right? So like, and also another point would be like, I don't know. It's like it doesn't. It's not like bad. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't ruin the movie. Yeah, just it kind of becomes validating in itself, right? Like if somebody says some like dumb bullshit or whatever, argues some dumb bullshit. Like, it sucks because it sucks because if you respond to it in a way that is like very logical and actually like really really constructive, it kind of inherently validates the first statement, right? So that's kind of like the trap I think this character falls in, really, where he is just trying to justify being like crazy and wanting like social like control and power and like being, most likely like a narcissistic psychopath serial killer of some kind. And the thing that gets me in these movies all the time is they have all these opportunities. Like, it's clearly the tensions are rising throughout the movie. They do a good job at building the tension and the suspense of the movie. But when the tensions are rising in these movies, you just think like, grab a weapon, please. Like, please grab a blunt object. There's two girls. It's 2-on-1. You can grab some kind of blunt object or some kind of sharp object. There's a point where she's looking at a sharp object. Grab the sharp object. This is a stranger. This is a weird stranger. At the point that he's like freaking out and his door is locked. Like, the number one thing is like they're like humoring him so he doesn't get mad and attack them or something. It's like, no, like we're past that. You know what I mean? Like, grab a thing. But then again, it would kind of ruin the movie if they did that, right? So again, suspension of disbelief, right? I gave it a 7, here, which it's like a 6.5 in my opinion. Let's see. In the end, there was the whole like, oh, it's all coming together full circle thing where it starts explaining like the different details in the scenes or whatever. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like largely pointless to me. When she's like, well, and then she's explained to him like, well, like you had time to blah blah blah, like earlier you had time to like go out and do this thing that I'm accusing you of, right? Like, this doesn't need to be a miracle. You could have swapped the people or da da da. Like, you know what I mean? She's explaining what like his master plan, like what he's doing behind the scenes or whatever, like how to make it like an orchestrated puppet show for them, like, you know what I mean? So she's like, and when you left, and like it seemed like you might have actually had time to go out the door, and then when you came back, in the living room and talked to us again, your hair was wet. So that's like when you could have got rid of our bikes and like took the bike lock or whatever. And he's like, yes, bravo. And it's just kind of pointless because it's like yeah, he did the thing. Like, the thing I don't get about it is like it's kind of obvious that he's doing it and there's nothing supernatural going on, or like that wasn't even really a question, but it's just like maybe it was a question when you first see the quote unquote so-called prophet or whatever. Like, some audience members might be like, oh wow, this movie took a real turn, and it sort of did for me in a second. Like, it kind of got me when I was in the theater. I'm like, it's like almost like I wanted to believe like something else, which was actually kind of a cool thing about the movie when the the quote unquote prophet came in, and I was like, oh, interesting, or like, well, let's like go along with this guy's delusion or like his like weird plan. Like, at least it's like interesting. Like, there's like more to it than they're just locked in a dungeon now. There's like more to like his like insane like puppet show, like puzzle, whatever he's doing, with them, like the puppet master, the Hannibal Lecter or whatever type thing. So I guess the point I was going to say is it's just kind of pointless to be like, oh, and that's when your hair was wet. It's like, but like me as an audience member know that he like moved the bikes. So like, I guess like, yes, as the character in the movie, it's like, but what does her figuring that out do for her? And it's like, look, I am like also competent, and that somehow helps me in the situation with this guy, is that I am also logical and competent, and then he won't want to kill me or something. Like, I don't get like what even the point is explaining like, and then you did this when this happened and da da da. Like, what's other than I guess like your own, I don't know, personal validation, but she already like knew that, so I don't know. It's an interesting movie. I'm kind of just rambling. Overall, pretty good. When it comes to like a lot of bad horror movies coming out, this one was like kind of a better movie, I would say. It wasn't like, whoa, this is an instant classic, but it was actually a very decent watch, and I did like the ending. Actually, some people might have had a problem with it. It was kind of open-ended. Did like a real miracle happen or whatever, and she kind of had this like, she was almost like seeing things in the very end, and I thought it was a cool up for interpretation ending, and especially after you get bombarded with and this is coming from a non-religious person. After you get bombarded with this, like, yeah, exactly, this Reddit atheist, like he's just like lecturing them about religion. It's like, dude, crack like nuclear fusion, or like do something else with your time. Like he's clearly a highly educated person. This guy, he's probably like master's doctorate of some kind. He probably retired early. You gotta think like who he is as a character. Maybe this is already like, I don't know if people know this and I'm dumb and I missed it, but clearly he's like very highly educated. He probably worked in some science field or something, making a bunch of money, some sort of like scientist or professor or something. He probably retired early, a little early. Like I know he's like not the youngest man ever, but I think like you have to think he built this contraption, this house, this puzzle house or whatever to his specifications to find people to build this house and to keep it quiet or to do it yourself or whatever, to like make this weird house. He had to been working on this the last at least 5-10 years or whatever it was. So like I'm sure he's probably like retired for a while. All this free time to research religion and mess with this house and stuff. So yeah, interesting character. It seems like he should just be doing something better with his time, to be honest. But then maybe he just wants. He's like, again, maybe it's not that deep. He's kind of just like psychotic. Like he wants to like control people, and he wants to like he justifies wanting to kill people basically. So overall, good. One of the better horror movies lately. Although it's flawed in its own ways, in my opinion. But overall, suspension of disbelief. It was a fun movie, and it really did good with like the suspense building and everything like that. So yeah, I would recommend it. And it like again, like maybe you think this is too high. Like it's anywhere from like this and this, in my opinion. I'll be nice and give it a 7. Give it a 3.5. I think it was a pretty solid movie. All right, and that's the review.